I always just kind of knew. I think my parents told me the moment they felt that I was mentally capable of understanding, and I don't specifically remember when I found out, so I think I was just raised always knowing.
I think it was always just known. I was adopted when I was an infant, and my parents were always really open about it. There was never really a misunderstanding that I was their child, and then they had to introduce adoption. It was always something that was taught to me when I was young, so it didn't come as a shell shock. I always knew that I wasn't a product of my parents. I wasn't from my mom's belly, but they were a different kind of parent. So there wasn't any moment in my life that I can really remember that I had to identify differently or really come to terms with it.
I believe so. Yeah, I know. I think I found one in the sunroom that was like, there's only 1 year.
Yes. I was adopted in '86, so that was a little bit of a, that's a while ago. And there were adoption books I remember when I was growing up, and they kind of associated the adoption process with like being brought to your parents by a stork. And so I used to joke that I was a stork baby because a lot of the picture books showed that you were a baby being delivered to a new family, or you were a baby that was born somewhere and your parents picked you out, so to say, and the stork delivered you. Or, there was a whole process of like, some babies are carried in mommy's belly, but like you weren't from mommy's tummy, but that doesn't mean she loves you any less. So they kind of gave you an idea of how it was a little bit different how you were born, but that didn't really make a difference to how your mom and dad viewed you.
I don't know.
Okay.
That was a long time ago.
No.
I suppose. I don't know. It might have made it a little awkward, because I'm sure at that age I'd have been like, yeah, I was adopted, and then lots of questions would happen. I don't know. Hard to answer because I'm very much mentally different than I was then, but I think that if I had a kid who was adopted, I would want them reading adoption books in school.
I think it might have taken off the burden of being different. I think that when you're a kid, there's so many different things that you recognize that you're different from people, your hair color, your eye color, your skin color, and I think that, to be the only one and a lot of friends that ever had to go through this process, it takes the burden, or it takes the difficulty of trying to explain to someone that, like, these are not my parents. They're my parents, but they didn't give birth to me, which I think is a foreign concept for a lot of kids to grasp onto. And so I think that it would have made maybe the transition of talking about it less of a taboo, or maybe easier to relate to with students in the classroom had there have been intervention from like a school teacher reading a book about it, maybe, or saying, that all families are different, no two are the same, kind of, versus teaching about what the adoption process is.
Yeah, probably.
I think so. I don't think that there would have been, I think, there's a fear that how do you remain neutral or non-biased to things like that, but I think that, as teachers, you have to be culturally competent, and you have to be understanding that kids come from different situations, and I think that, especially today, in 2012, it's important to engage that, because there are families that are extremely different. You've got single parents, you've got, families with two moms and two dads, and so if you can recognize them as entities within a classroom, then you should almost recognize the fact that there are going to be times when parents can't conceive, or parents can't have kids, and so they adopt, and that there doesn't have to be this white elephant in the classroom that, everyone knows it's there, but no one wants to talk about it, or no one thinks that there's going to be hurt feelings. So I think that, if you have those books available, you can teach about it, or you can explain what the process is, get the thought developing in kids' minds, and kids can ask questions at home. They can get, further answers from their parents, but I don't think learning about adoption really does any damage to children that are not adopted. I think it just makes them a little bit more aware of the kids around them, and it also gives them a learning experience to kind of understand that not every family is the same, and that, like I said earlier, all families are different, no two are the same. So I think that that's important to kind of